Welcome back to Age of Empires 2. Last time, we established our base on this side of the river, liberated the city of, I keep forgetting their names, of Chalon, but not before stealing just about all their villages and adding them to our cause. Oh man, I love monks sometimes. Actually, I love monks most of the time, but anyway. Now, and we advanced to the Imperial Age. Now we're in the Imperial Age, and as such, we've got a lot we can do. We can upgrade everything at the Siege Workshop, upgrade everything at the Blacksmith, the Barrack. Why do I keep calling that stupid? Anyway, upgrade everything at the Stable. Oh, wow. Speaking of the Blacksmith, I do not have a Blacksmith yet. That is absolutely criminal. Normally, the Blacksmith is a prerequisite for the Siege Workshop, but because we started in the Castle Age, it automatically treated it as if we'd already built one in the past, which we hadn't. So, yeah, but I'm going to need that because upgraded armor and weapons are really going to be useful coming into later on. Now, as for the next two towns, Troyes is, it's kind of well defended, but once we get a certain unit, it should fall pretty easily. The final city is very heavily defended and will require a very elite army to take down. So, what we're going to do here is, we're going to go ahead and upgrade, firstly, our pikemen to halberdiers. This will really help against enemy cavalry. We're also going to upgrade our knights to cavaliers. And just for the sake of it, battering rams to capped rams. Oh wow, as you can see, Reims, our third and final opponent, already has cavaliers, so we'll want to upgrade ours quickly. Fortunately, Frankish cavaliers are actually a lot better than British ones. Now, at the castle, we can upgrade our throwing axemen to elite throwing axemen, but as you can see, it is really expensive, and I'm not really using throwing axemen here. We can, however, research conscription. This is very useful, as it makes all units from all buildings get created 30%, is it 30%? 30% or something faster. We have the cap rams. We don't quite have cavaliers. The upgrades to knights take quite a while to research, but soon they will be done. Now, you might notice we don't have another one. Unfortunately, the Franks can only go as far as capped rams. They can't get the final ram upgrade, which is kind of annoying. Because of that, there is another siege unit that might be more useful for them, and it's at the castle, but we'll be showing that later. For now, we have cavaliers. You'll notice that Frankish cavaliers have a lot more HP than British ones. They also have very good attack power and very nice armor too. We probably want to go ahead and upgrade our swordsmen to two-handed swordsmen, just in case we want to start using swordsmen later on. And let's just get some weapon and armor upgrades at the blacksmith. Now, the other siege unit that I was talking about, that's this thing here, the trebuchet. Trebuchets, as was mentioned in the... Is that a halberdier? That looks like a halberdier. Trebuchets, as was mentioned by the awesome Scottish narrator in the William Wallace campaign, can only be created in the Imperial Age. They are a very powerful siege unit. Basically, think battering ram, but ranged. Basically, they are a long-range, extremely devastating anti-building unit. And you guys are running a gold, so go farm some... mine some more gold here. Again, like I was saying, extremely devastating, long-distance anti-building units. But trebuchets have a few very weird qualities to them. They start off in this packed form. While they're packed, they can move just fine, but they can't actually attack. You have to unpack them, and then they'll be able to fire, but they won't be able to move. So trebuchets can fall quickly if they're not well defended, but provided that you use them correctly, trebuchets are some of the most devastating units in the game for besieging towns. They're also, again, like rams are very good against castles, but in scenarios like this, especially for the Franks who don't get the final ram upgrade, I'd probably go so far as to say trebuchets are an even better anti-castle weapon than rams. Speaking of awesome things though, we now have two-handed swordsmen, but we can upgrade them to the final level, champions. Now champions, are the final level of the swordsman line. Usually though, and we are really running low on gold, I just realised, so I might not even be able to research that at all. Speaking of things that cost a lot of money to research, we can upgrade our cavaliers to the final in the knight line, paladins. However, the upgrade is one of the most expensive in the entire freaking game. 1,300 food and 750 gold. But that upgrade is well worth it, and I believe our next port of call is saving up for that upgrade. Because that upgrade, very, very, very useful. So as you can see, we have a whole bunch of Cavaliers here. Now, unfortunately, the pikemen we converted do not upgrade to Halberdiers because they're treated as enemy units in all respects, so they would only upgrade if the enemy had upgraded to Halberdiers and they haven't. But anyway, we need some more gold and lots of it quickly because I want my Paladins, because Paladins are amazing. Believe me, Paladins are absolutely amazing. Hands down some of the best units in the game, but of course, they don't come without a cost. Very, very, very steep cost. You know what? I'm pretty much set on the wood department, so you guys deposit your wood there, and you are going to go mine me some more gold. Because I really do need gold. Maybe I should build a market too. Hey, you've upgraded, that's nice. So, let's see if you can actually get me a market, because I may need that. Markets also get a total makeover in the Imperial Age. Actually, most buildings normally... Well, actually, the barracks and stable and archery range don't. But most buildings do. Monastery doesn't. Also, you might notice, we can build a wonder, but don't do it. Whatever you do, it's completely pointless. Because, unless the scenario specifically says that you have to win by wonder victory, you can never win a scenario in campaign mode with a wonder, so, yeah. I have tried, like in a practice run, building a wonder just because I was curious to see what it did. It's completely useless. You build it, and it bang, does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's totally worth it. Not. So yeah, don't do it. Huh, we could... Nah, we don't have any allies, so we can't use trade cards really that well. Now, we pretty much will not be needing any stone for the rest of the whole game, basically. You'll notice that Reims does like to send longbowmen at us, so... yeah. But I can sell my stone for some extra gold. We now have enough for the Paladin upgrade, and I'm going to research it right now. We have one stone left! So, like, basically we're holding on to, like, one rock, thinking it might be useful someday. Anyway, we're going to upgrade to Paladins. Now, the thing about the Paladin upgrade is, researching it is really, 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 really slow. Really slow. But, yeah, it is very, very much worth it. And Jonah's going to go back here. The rest of us are going to head on over to where the rest of our force is. We're going to need to fill out our ranks with lots more Cavaliers and probably some swordsmen because of the pikemen, yeah. We're going to need more gold to research some more technologies, though. Because we can actually go up to the even higher levels of blacksmith technologies now that we're in the Imperial Age. So apologies if this part seems a little boring, but things will get more interesting soon once we start trying out our shiny new trebuchets. Speaking of which, we have a new technology available at the university, Siege Engineers, which gives +1 range to all long-range siege weapons, but the main thing is, they cause 20% more damage to buildings, which is really, really good for our purposes, because we're gonna be destroying town centres. Now, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to champions. It costs a lot of food, but it's probably worth it because, and we've upgraded to chain barding armor. We can actually get the 3rd level now, which is plate barding armor. Whoa, okay! I did not expect an attack that big. You'll notice that longbowman there is kind of outranging the castle. I actually think that our castle would probably be able to take all these guys on by themselves, but may want to send some more units back. Okay, castle is taking them out. So they're slowly dying. Okay, the castle's probably got enough range to take those things all out. Actually, A couple of these blacksmith technologies. Bodkin Arrow gives castles extra range. Now, the skill description says that it gives extra range to town centres. It actually doesn't anymore. That was patched out of the expansion simply because, right, longbowmen here are actually outranging the castle. This is 9 range, the longbowmen are combined 10 range. Of course, they're really not going to do much to the castle, but still, I'm going to go ahead and research Bodkin Arrow because this will mean that our castle will be able to damage those longbowmen. Like it just did to that one. But yeah, the +1 that's already on the castle's range is from the fletching technology, which is the first archer technology. Again, the Franks aren't really that archer specialized, so I'm not really going to be researching these very much. But, what's this? See? Now this castle can shoot the longbowmen. Given that it has 10 range now. But fully upgraded longbowmen still... Oh... They just went to elite longbowmen, which have +1 range again. So, actually, they are still outranging us. I'll have Joan herself take this guy out, actually. Right then, is our paladin research complete? Yes, it is! So, very soon I'll go ahead and show you just why paladins are so insane. But first, I need to keep an eye on Joan, otherwise things will get bad. And goodbye! So, go back. Now, we have paladins. Paladins, as you can see, are amazing. They almost have as much health as a siege weapon, they have ridiculous armor, and massive attack power. They're also pretty fast, being cavalry. Their only real weakness is against pikemen. The paladins are so good, they actually beat pikemen in one-on-one battles. It's only mass groups of pikemen that'll actually take them down. To make them even better, I'm going to go ahead and research plate barding armor to make their armor even stronger. So yeah, Frankish paladins, because of that 20% extra HP, extremely powerful. Some of the most powerful units in the entire game. And we've also researched champions, so I'll get a few champions because they're quite decent against pikemen. Oh man, I love paladins. Paladins are amazing. Very few civilizations actually get them though. Also, this is a champion. Champions have, as you can see, quite a lot of base attack power. But they're much less heavily armored and a lot slower than paladins. You can, of course, field champions in much larger numbers. So, yeah, champions are basically what all militia eventually aspire to be. Militia will eventually become champions. Champions are more useful generally on the more infantry-heavy civilizations, which we'll be seeing later, but the Franks are a very cavalry-based civilization. Which is why paladins, 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 and more paladins. Now, I will probably need some halberdiers too. And actually, considering that halberdiers cost wood, which we have a massive abundance of, that's probably not going to run much resources. You're going to get chainmail armor, though, just to increase the... Thought that was something there, but it's dead. How's our farm queue coming along, by the way? Wow, still pretty good. Let's see how our farms are going. Again, Frankish farms are really, really good, so... That's always useful to get a few of those set up. Okay, we have 6 more slots for units, and you know what? I'm going to spend them on halberdiers, because these enemies are going to start fielding cavalry eventually, and they can be kind of annoying, especially if we've got a lot of siege weapons that we need to protect. Now yes, halberdiers may not look as statistically good as other units like champions, but don't let that fool you. They get a ridiculously enormous bonus against cavalry. It's insane. Just you wait until I show you their stat sheet on Fact of the Day. Believe me, their attack bonus against cavalry is ridiculous. But anyway, let's research. We don't have enough food for that. We only have 10 more food though that we need. Come on, 10 food. There we go. Plate mail armor, which will give even more extra armor to our foot soldiers. Probably don't really need our monks. They've been around since the very beginning of this scenario, haven't they? Okay, soon we will have a full army. And once that happens, we'll be ready to attack. Now, this town generally... Okay, I'll send one of my paladins out there to scout. As much as it seems like paladins are kind of wasted on scouting, let's just go up. Right, my army's finished now, so yeah. Now, this crossing here will form a sort of anchor point for our trebuchets. Now, as you can see, yes, these guys have a wall. They also have a castle. So they're much more heavily guarded than the green guys were, than Chalon was. Now this city here, Troyes, actually has a very interesting history. There, an infamous thing known as the Treaty of Troyes was signed before the events of the Joan of Arc campaign really began. Basically what happened there was, that was when the previous king, King Charles the Mad, as he was known, because he kind of went completely insane, basically, he was forced to sign a treaty saying, we officially recognize that when I die, my daughter's going to marry one of your English kings, and their heir is going to be the next king of France. And so, basically, everyone in France was really up in arms over this. Absolutely just incredibly angry that their king would betray them like that. And, yes, that was very, very, very much of a problem. Now, you guys are all going to go on defensive stance, because you, trebuchets, are going to fire on that castle. I made sure to put the rest of my units ahead. That guy's still a knight, because, yeah, the castle's shooting him! Ugh. And he's probably going to die, isn't he? Yep, anyway, sorry. Basically what we're going to do is we want to keep our trebuchets guarded. While they're unpacked, they can fire, and oh boy can they fire. Next, we want to strike at this town centre. Now, trebuchets have a minimum range, which is annoying. They're also extremely vulnerable to cavalry, like most siege weapons are. But they really do a serious number on buildings.
The British Empires have been defeated.
See? That wasn't so hard, was it? Trebuchets are amazing. That scout cavalry was also moonwalking for a second there. The problem with trebuchets, though, is they're a little clunky to use. This thing was too close to attack for them before, so I have to unpack them, move them back just like a few inches, pack them again, and then start firing. So, trebuchets are a little clunky, but as you can see, they really do a number on buildings. And unlike rams, they don't have to be a melee. We only lost one guy in that attack, seriously. Also, something rather weird and it's kind of sort of morbid about what happens here is that when don't go after him, because yeah, when one of your enemies resigns in this thing, once you destroy their town center, their villages start spontaneously dropping dead. It's really, really weird. It's somewhat disturbing. But yeah, after you destroy their town centers, if you've done Marco Polo to look at where their units are, they will eventually, their villages will just run off in different directions and just start spontaneously dropping dead for no reason. It's kind of creepy, actually. But anyway, we only have one more objective: destroy the town centre of Reims. And we probably don't want to destroy anything else there, because Reims is a major city of France, and it's the place where the king needs to go to be crowned. Pretty much, that is the only cathedral that will actually, apparently, yeah, that's the only place that you can actually crown a French king. But yes, we'll move our trebuchets up, we'll send our rams over too, just in case we need some extra siege support. But really, like I was saying, for the Franks who don't get the final ram upgrade, trebuchets are probably better than rams in the long run. But for civilizations that do get the final ram upgrade, fully upgraded rams are probably better. Man, I love these paladins. So awesome. Seriously, so awesome. And I'm only destroying these because otherwise my units would just auto-attack them anyway. Yes, now Reims has upgraded to elite longbowmen at this point, which is kind of annoying because they have extremely long range, as their name suggests. But for now, we don't really need to worry about that. Now, if we had 7,000 gold, we could research spies, but I doubt we'll end up getting that much. Speaking of which, yep, I thought you'd finished. And you finished. Yep, we've mined all the gold in that area. So let's build another mining camp here. Resources are pretty much a non-issue in this mission. Again, like I've been saying, you guys go chop wood in case we need some more trebuchets and the like. Wow, we've completely deforested this area. And finally, the farm queue has expired. Well, it's not expired actually. Looked like it was, but anyway. Let's go research siege engineers. This is going to really help us when attacking the final enemy city. Wow, you guys are taking your sweet time healing, aren't you? Yeah, heal the most heavily injured ones first, I reckon. Sometimes manually tasking your monks to heal is quite helpful. So, we have just 2 These crossbowmen have been with us since the beginning. Wow, that's amazing. Kinda don't want to risk them in battle. You know what, you guys? You guys go get in this castle, and I'll consider you retired for the rest of this battle, because seriously, I really don't want to lose you. We only have space for 1 more unit, and you know what? It's going to be a paladin, just because paladins are awesome. Okay, it looks like there's an enemy there. Champions are pretty awesome too, I will admit, but paladins are always the most amazing things ever, except against dedicated anti-cavalry units. That's probably why there are dedicated anti-cavalry units, because paladins would be totally and utterly broken without that, seriously.
Oh yeah.
I mean, paladins are already pretty overpowered, but they're kept from being broken by just the sheer number of anti-cavalry units. Wow, this city has been totally leveled, except for a few things there. But we've pretty much researched every technology that we're able. And are we fully healed up? We're almost fully healed up. Of course, remember, monks cannot heal siege weapons. But villagers can repair them, so that's a little inconvenient because you'll need to be carrying around villagers too. Why do you keep sending scouts? Anyway. Now these monks are going to go back. I'm going to keep them a little back. Everyone else, I'll send the rams in later. Just for now, my trebuchet should suffice. Move you up here so that the trebuchets are behind the rest of the army, and the rest of the army is keeping them protected. Let's keep moving. What's that? Okay, yeah, now they will attempt to build a second town centre after their first has been destroyed, because the AI just likes to do that, but it's never going to get finished, because, well, because all their villagers will spontaneously die of a heart attack for no reason. Now, let's break down this gate right here, but make sure we're ready to guard the trebuchets. Because Reims has a very large force defending it. And they've got fortified walls, as you can see. They also have trebuchets of their own. So I'll send a couple of my paladins to take them out. Trebuchets are actually surprisingly effective against other trebuchets, so you'll want to make sure that you can take those things out. However, trebuchets are some of the most inaccurate things in existence. Like, seriously. But again, as you can see, they're quite effective at taking out other trebuchets. Yeah, I just lost one of mine to the other trebuchets. So, yeah, gotta watch out for that. Now, there are a lot of longbowmen here. Longbowmen are not that much of a threat to siege units. And they're sending out more trebuchets. Hopefully, our trebuchets will smash this castle before it really does anything too dangerous. We are losing a few paladins here and there, but nothing we can't really... You! Highest priority is dealing with the enemy trebuchets, because they pose a threat to ours, a very big threat. Good, castle's down. Trebuchets, stop! Because very soon we'll be encountering something very annoying. Oh, another trebuchet. Take out the enemy trebuchets! Here's the annoying thing. They have an enormous force of onagers. And onagers can do a real number on any units that they manage to get their shots to hit. So, make sure you take these things out. Paladins are absolutely excellent for taking them out, so I would highly recommend that. Paladins are also excellent for taking out longbowmen. I know our paladins are getting a bit battered, but soon everything will all be over, because the town centre is in sight. There is a second castle over here. It's actually not really that important, because very soon... Don't smash the university. We're probably going to need that later on. And now, fire on that. One of our trebuchets is probably going to die, but it's probably fine. Also, this is the cathedral where we're going to actually crown King Charles, so we probably don't want to destroy it. But seriously, just look how quickly they take out town centres. So this mission will very soon be over.
Reims has been liberated.
So, that wasn't so bad.
The coronation of the Dauphin can proceed.
See? Again, probably easier than the last mission.
As we rode into Reims, a sea of peasants and lords knelt before Joan. Some even knelt to kiss our horses' hoofprints. Cannon thundered, and 1,000 flags danced in the breeze. In the enormous palace, the Dauphin knelt before the Archbishop and rose as King of France. Prayers, anthems, and sermons filled the great chateau. Interspersed among perfumed dukes and ladies were tattered soldiers from our army, many still bearing wounds. Joan herself was at the king's side, as was her bedraggled battle standard. Despite the celebration, I know in my heart that this war is far from over. Our fathers and grandfathers died fighting against the English. Joan gives us hope, but I do not know if hope is enough to ensure victory.
Ending on a bit of a bittersweet note there, and there's kind of a good reason for it. You see, Charles was crowned king, and it was a good thing that France had... Wow, look how pathetic the British Guards scored. But anyway, it was a good thing that France actually had a French king. That certainly would do a lot to help them stand on their own as a country. This campaign doesn't really explain this, but the next in line for the English throne, the English king who was set to become the next king of France, was at this point only barely, less than 5 years old. So, he wasn't old enough to be officially crowned, and that's why the French had to seize that chance to get the Dauphin crowned as soon as possible. Because, well, yeah, they kind of needed a French king quickly. And while he did get crowned, he was the only one they had, yeah. But he was not the most effective king ever. Well, quite far from it, actually. Because as they mentioned, he was kind of a massive coward. He was also pretty much a total wimp. And the moment that he was crowned king, he already started to negotiate with the English, agreeing to let them keep bits of France as long as they stopped fighting the war. So, things were not quite going as Joan expected. And in the next scenario, you'll really see this is a bit of a turning point for her story. But for the time being, wow, that's a lot of units killed. Units converted. We converted 17 villages. Yay! Largest army, of course. Okay, for some reason Troyes had the most stone, and Reims, wow, had oh, they only beat us by a little bit in wood, beat us by a lot in gold. Technology how did they explore 90% of the map before they got wiped out? Seriously. Yeah, they got to the Imperial Age first. They tend to always do that. Research count, oh, Reims just beat us. Oh, tied for total castles. Troyes had the highest number of villages. That's interesting. Okay. I have a feeling that counts fishing ships, though, and they did have a few fishing ships. Timeline. Wow, the British Guards failed horribly. Anyway, battle, and apparently no other big battles. My my liberations of the orange and, I keep forgetting the names, orange and yellow cities were so decisive that they didn't even count as a major battle event. But anyway, Chalon went down quickly, Troyes eventually went down, and Reims was still a huge presence, but they went down towards the end. So, that's all for that scenario. I shall see you next time for quite possibly the most dreaded scenario in the whole Joan of Arc campaign, and maybe in, well, it's one of the most dreaded scenarios in this game. The Siege of Paris. Now, in real life, this was where things went from bad to worse for Joan and her army. In the game, pretty much exactly the same. This mission is, well, very infamous among the fan base as being very difficult to beat. So, I guess I'll see you next time. I'm a little nervous, but I'll try to do it. See you then. And now it's time for Ye Olde Fact of the Day. The Trebuchet. One thing that I just want to mention briefly, because it's kind of funny, is that back when I was a kid playing this, a lot of other kids my age who also played this game used to call these things Truebucks, because they had no idea how to pronounce them. But anyway, so, Trebuchet. Oh boy, am I glad I got to show this off. As you can see, Trebuchets are something pretty amazing, if you use them right. Trebuchets are only available in the Imperial Age, so you need to go quite far to even have access to them. Unlike most other siege weapons, they're built at the castle and not the siege workshop, which means there's quite a large cost associated with just getting the ability to produce them. I mean, castles are very expensive and take a while to build, unlike siege workshops, which can be built a lot faster. They also cost an awful lot of resources, costing 200 wood and 200 gold, so they run you a lot of resources. But, well, trebuchets are certainly worth it, but they are a little difficult to use. Trebuchets are one of the most complicated units in the entire game, in the sense that they effectively have two separate profiles. In fact, if you go into the scenario creator and map editor of this game, when you go to place units on the map, packed and unpacked trebuchets are listed as totally separate units. They're really that different. So, let me start with packed trebuchets. Packed trebuchets can move. Basically, that's the main thing they have going for them. They can move. They can't attack. They can't do anything at all except move. Basically, though, you can order a packed trebuchet to attack. What it does in this case is, it moves to where it is in range of whatever you're targeting, immediately starts unpacking, and then begins firing. So you can still order unpacked trebuchets to attack, and they will automatically, pack trebuchets to attack, and they'll automatically unpack themselves. So, kind of a little bit less micromanagement intensive there, but sometimes it is worthwhile to unpack the trebuchet yourself by clicking on the unpack button. There's also a hotkey for that as well if you want to do things really quickly. I know the truly freakishly good players of this game actually have all the hotkeys memorized so they can do things really fast, but I'm not really at that level yet. But anyway, once unpacked, well, trebuchets take a few seconds to unpack themselves. And while they're doing that, they are completely vulnerable, so you really don't want to let them get attacked while they're unpacking. Well, you don't want to let them get attacked at all, but anyway. Once they're unpacked, trebuchets become the second thing that you see. More, the kind of familiar image you'd probably associate with a trebuchet. They are, as you can also tell, really freaking massive, and so they take up a lot of space. And if you're not careful with them, on those areas like in the shallows that I was using them, if you're not careful, they can actually block your own unit's movement. Generally speaking, you want to make sure that you have your units positioned in front of the trebuchets before they unpack, because by the time they're unpacked, they are stuck. They can't move unless you take the time to pack them again. And packing takes time. If enemies have closed the distance and are starting to dismantle your trebuchets in melee range, unpacking probably won't save you. They're probably going to be destroyed regardless, so yeah. Unpacked trebuchets are totally vulnerable to melee attacks because they cannot move at all. All they can do is pivot on the spot to fire at more enemies. Now, speaking of firing at enemies, that is the main draw of an unpacked trebuchet. They can fire. Trebuchets have an enormously long range, one of the longest ranges in the game, and they are pretty much guaranteed to outrange any castle. Yes, I just looked up, just for the sake of it, not even Teutonic castles can outrange trebuchets, so they can pretty much be totally safe. However, they will be vulnerable to any garrison of units that are in the castle, especially cavalry. You really want to make sure you can prevent cavalry from closing in with trebuchets, because they will die very fast to enemy cavalry. Speaking of dying fast though, oh boy do trebuchets really take out buildings quickly. As you can see here, that town centre there, it barely lasts even a few seconds against a full onslaught of trebuchets. Castles, also, they tend to go down really fast. And that basically means that by the time you're in the Imperial Age, suddenly castles aren't nearly as scary as they used to be with the addition of trebuchets. It also means that people with castles will need to be sure to guard their castles with some knights, definitely to make sure that they can take out enemy trebuchets. Now, rams have the benefit of being garrisoned, so they can be faster, and rams are a little cheaper. And fully upgraded rams, for those civilizations that get them, probably will be able to do a bit more damage to a castle. But trebuchets for civilizations like the Franks, who don't get the final ram upgrade, are probably your best anti-castle weapon. Now, the thing about trebuchets is that while they're amazing against buildings, they can attack like actual people, they're just really not good at it. Basically, trebuchets are some of the most wildly inaccurate units in the entire game. Normally, you won't even notice this, because, well, it's not like you can miss a castle. But yes, trebuchet shots tend to fly wildly in all directions, and usually hit an area way, away from where you actually aimed at. Again, this doesn't really matter when attacking buildings, because they're so big that you'll probably end up hitting them anyway. Trebuchets do have a very slight amount of area damage on them, but, so even if you just very barely miss the building, you probably will still damage them, so, again, that doesn't really matter. What does matter is the accuracy against regular units. While trebuchets still have their 200 attack power against regular units, unlike rams, who have ridiculously pathetic attack score against basic units, pretty much a direct hit from a trebuchet will kill any foot soldier instantly. But that is a direct hit. How often does a direct hit from a trebuchet happen? Almost never. You will almost never hit any basic units, especially ones that are moving with a trebuchet. And because trebuchets actually have a very restrictive minimum range, as I've shown off a little bit in this scenario, by the time the trebuchet has even unpacked itself and started firing on the regular units, chances are they only get one good shot off before the units are suddenly within the minimum range and, oh look, you can't do anything anymore. So take my advice, don't use trebuchets against basic units. Now, you might be able to get some success with the attack ground command. This is when you can make your siege weapon fire on an area of ground as opposed to an actual unit specifically. This really helps if you know the enemies are moving forward and you want to sort of catch them as they're advancing. Now, you might be able to get lucky and hit something with a trebuchet using the attack ground command, but don't count on it. Now, in the Forgotten expansion, the Britons actually get a new unique technology that makes their trebuchets do blast damage, as in they actually have area damage. This could make them somewhat effective against units, but again, you've got to be really good at using the attack ground order, because there is no way you are hitting anything if you just manually attack individual units. But yeah, interestingly enough, when one of the developers in a Q&A was asked by someone, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if you had this unit that has pretty much enough power to kill anything instantly, but has really low accuracy? The guy basically replied, we do. It's called a trebuchet. Yeah, basically that's how trebuchets work against units, but think one-hit KO moves in Pokemon, but even less accurate, as if that was possible. So, really, don't try. Just don't. Don't try and attack regular units with trebuchets, it's really not going to get you anything. What you do want to do is attack buildings with trebuchets, because that will get you amazing results, as you've seen here. And now, it's finally time for the history lesson. The most powerful of the Middle Age non-gunpowder siege engines was the trebuchet. This was a large catapult-like weapon with a long throwing arm and missile bag suspended by ropes. When released, the arm swung up and the bag was brought up and forward. Centrifugal force acting on the suspended bag increased the range and height achieved by the released missile. Stones fired by the trebuchet plunged down on their target and did great damage to the tops of roofs, of walls, towers, and other structures. Trebuchets were expensive and complicated machines, requiring specialists to build and operate. They could only be moved in parts and required assembly before use. Edward I of England refused to the surrender of Stirling Castle in Scotland on one occasion, so that he could watch his most recently acquired trebuchet in action. Yeah, you might remember that guy from all the way back in the William Wallace campaign. So yeah, I admit that's actually kind of jerky, saying, no, wait a minute. Nope, you're not surrendering just yet. Wait till I try out my trebuchet, then you can surrender. What's left of you.